This podcast is brought to you by Adapt Athletic Performance and Therapy. Follow their social media accounts on screen now by clicking the link in the description.
Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas!
You're listening to the Ball Talk podcast with me, Ryan Bailey, and this is part of a new mini-series called the 12 Pods of Christmas. Over the Christmas period, I'll be bringing you 12 different podcasts with some new and some old faces. Please like, share and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy. Right, folks, you're very welcome to episode number 46 of the Ball Talk podcast in the 12 Pods of Christmas. Today I'm joined by Martin Carr. Martin, how are you getting on?
Good.
What do you go with now? So you've got Martin Ocean now?
Martin Ocean indeed.
Okay.
Martin Ocean.
We'll get to that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But firstly, first question that I asked you the other day, and it's something that I've asked a few people on the podcast already. You've got a dream concert.
Dream concert.
So you got 3 acts. They can be dead or alive. But it's your dream that you are stood there in Merley Park or wherever it may be, or Slane Castle or something. You could have one after the other. So mine would be, I think I said this the other day, mine would be Fleetwood Mac, the Chili Peppers, and then Oasis.
Very good choices.
I'm sure yours would be a bit different though.
Let's see now. I've had a little time to prepare for this question. I'd start off with a rapper called Pop Smoke.
Yeah.
He was a drill rapper. He unfortunately got shot in February. He was a very good drill rapper. He was only, I think he was 20. So I'd start with Pop Smoke. Actually, a lot of the new music comes is inspired by Pop Smoke. It's a lot of like heavy kind of production. So start with Pop Smoke. Second 50, OG 50 Cent. The reason for 50, like 50 was actually first rap song I ever heard was In the Club. So I remember one of the lads sent to me on Bluetooth, like back in the day on Bluetooth, like a Nokia phone. And I remember listening In the Club, and I was like, what's this? Like, I was like, as someone who never listened, well, like I'd heard rap music, but like back in I was like what, like 9 or 10. So that was the first song, like In the Club was the first time I remember like listening to it and getting goosebumps, thinking, oh shit, what's this? So we have Pop Smoke 50 and then Mac Miller. So obviously Mac's been a big inspiration for me over the years. So definitely Mac's like a super inspiration.
Yeah, because you even on that Instagram and stuff, you'd put up stuff about Mac Miller a lot, like.
Yeah, it's a funny one because sometimes I remember growing up, and I was a big Mac fan when I was growing up, and sometimes when you get attached to someone and you're growing up, you think you have to leave something in order to like, oh wait, no, I used to listen to that when I was a kid, it's time to grow up now. So unfortunately that's what I kind of did with Mac's music. I was like, oh, even though I could have grown, like with a lot of artists, I like to think anyone that's been following me that like can see growth, and you grow with an artist when you listen to music. But instead of kind of growing what I should have done, unfortunately I regret a little. I stopped listening a little bit because I was thinking, no, I used to listen to that when I was a kid. It's time to grow up a bit, so I didn't listen as much. And then obviously I was like, when he passed away, I went back and listened like super hard again, and kind of like, oh yeah, I always loved him and stuff. So
yeah,
no, super big inspiration.
So you got Pop Smoke, 50 Cent, Mac Miller, 3.
Yeah, 100%.
Spot on. So just before we went to that, so your name. So you went from 220 was the original.
220 was the original, indeed.
Start off 220. Where did that come out of?
So originally, I would have been in like first year. So let's say 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So obviously when I was a kid, I used to write a lot of poetry. So I would have been like 7 or 8. I used to like, the poems weren't very good now at the time, but I used to always write them, and like bits for raps, but mostly poetry. And I watched a film, a Biggie film called Notorious. Really highly recommended if anyone's never seen it. And I was thinking, oh, I could do that. I could write raps. So I started writing raps, and I was in my room, and I was thinking, oh, I really need a name. I was like, what do I need? I need a name. So I'm looking at the clock, and it was 20 past 2. So I'm thinking, oh, why don't I just switch it around to 220? And I was like, oh, it looks like a Bible scripture or something. So I kind of looked it up in the Bible. I was like, that's cool if you're a rapper, like some kind of amazing story behind it. So then it said forgiveness. I was like, oh, that's cool, 220. Like that's so different. So I ran with 220 for a while, and I'm very thankful because it gave me a lot of experience. So like for the number of years I ran with like 220, I feel like I'm starting again with a new name, but I'm starting with experience. It's a Bugsy Malone quote. Like I'm starting fresh, but I'm starting with experience, and I'll always be thankful for everything. Be it wasn't massive things I did like while I was called 220. It gave me all the blueprint, like everything, like it. unfortunately, I had to go through a lot of stuff, a lot of bad stuff, and like some good stuff under like the name 220, to find like my true path, like trying like what's actually understand and what I actually want to do with music. Because a long time I was like, I liked rapping and thought if I just did rapping, then I would achieve like amazing things.
Yeah.
When that's not the case, you have to do a lot more than just actually it's a lot more involved than just like making a song. You have to like think about like where you want the song to be placed, when you're going to market it, how you're going to get there. There's so many different elements. It's not just kind of like one element.
Yeah.
But then I arrived at Martin Ocean recently.
Yeah. So where did that come in then?
So it was during the summer. So I released a song called Hello Special during the summer.
Yeah.
It was it was about an ex. It's a really nice song. I still love it to this day. Like it's a really nice song.
There's a nice little flow to it now. It's like nice melody.
Yeah, it's fairly vulnerable. I like to think that my best quality about like music and even like day to day is like I don't mind being an open book, because like I feel when I was younger I was always closed off. The reason it was only when I like started growing up properly, should I say, sorry, that I started to figure out that being cool is being myself. It's not trying to be something else. Yeah. So by being yourself, like when you let everything out on the table, someone can take a shot at what's on the table, like what's going on, but I know that I'm being myself, and it's just showing like your insecurity if you're taking a shot at like me being myself, because you're obviously not being yourself if you're going to take a shot at like me being comfortable in my skin. So in terms of music, and that song especially, like it was a very vulnerable song. It was a very like hard time in my life, and it was very sensitive because it was one of my first kind of proper relationships, and I was leaving everything on the table.
Yeah.
But it's a sensitive song, and I love it. I still love it, but something that I kind of neglected a little like over the last couple of years is like my rapping ability, what I started doing rapping, because I was kind of moving left and moving right, and I didn't really have a sort of plan. So during the summer, me and one of my close friends, Matthew, who's helped me a lot with American at the moment, we sat down because I was starting to like knock out songs. I started doing more DIY, so I started like recording myself, mixing, mastering myself. I started like understanding music more for myself instead of having to book a studio or rely on someone else. Heavily inspired because of a lad called Russ, who's an incredible artist. But and then we're like, okay, if we're going to start off with a new brand of music, then what about a new brand of name? And at first I was like, oh yeah, I don't know about that, because like once you've been called, especially a name, there's so much attached to your name. Yeah. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You've spent so much time being called this that this is like who you've become. Yeah. It doesn't matter what that name is. If you spend enough time being called that, that's what you become. Yeah. So I was thinking to myself, especially because that's such a close like meaning to me, because I began music like that. So I was thinking, I don't know. And then after kind of realizing, okay, if I want to like move to the next like chapter in my life, be it my life and music, then I need, as I was saying, a fresh start. I need to go at it again, but this time I need like a very clear vision, and I need just like use everything that I've learned, but start again and go hell for leather with it. So then originally it was just going to be Martin. Actually went through some funny ones. It was going to be Morchin at one point, which is interesting, and then I was like, nah, I'm not. I like Morchin. I like being called Morchin too, because it's like almost affectionate, but I was like, nah, I'm not being called Morchin. And then it was just going to be Martin, but there was too many Martins in the world. When you look up on Spotify, there's a lot of Martins, just Martins. So then there's not really much to the story, but we're just kind of coming up with names, and we're back and forth, and someone said Martin Emotion, and then I was like, nah, what? And I was like, what about Martin Ocean? And they were like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, why don't we go with that? And like at face value, that was kind of it. But when I started thinking about water and stuff, up until this summer, I had like a real fear of water. Like since I was a kid, like I never swam in the sea up until this summer, and I was actually clocking that. It's one of them things that until you actually clock it, you're not aware of it. Yeah. It's just something you take emotion. You're like, oh no, I've never swam in the sea, but then you realize, oh, how have I never swam in the sea? It kind of draws back to a fear. Yeah, so I kind of always had that fear of water. So it's because I conquered my fear of water in the summer. So now it kind of cool because like it's my name now. So kind of full circle.
Yeah, because I'm just going to check the camera while we're talking here, but like it's not just something that you've just changed just out of nowhere. You've obviously given it serious thought. Like.
Oh yeah. As I was saying, you see, from that again, it's always interesting because the world only knows what I've given. Like anybody that knows me from my music or me doing music, they only know what I've given them. Like for example, like if I make a song, they only hear that song. They hear them 3 minutes. That's what they hear. Yeah. Unfortunately, they don't hear what had to happen for that 3 minutes, like to come together. And I mean, I had to go through very bad times in my life. Unfortunately, I had to go through like very bad times. So we're talking like I still suffer with it. And actually, I was thinking on the way over, do I want to talk about this or not? But I really want to bring this up. So, like for large periods of my life, I suffered with very bad depression, like super bad depression. And unfortunately, it got very close to like very bad stuff when I was like 18, 19. And so while everyone was seeing me give the odd piece of music, and they're like, oh, Martin's not really doing music, or it's like, oh, there's this whole other side of the curtain happening. So like, I mean, music has always been the thing of like, oh, if I can just hold on to this, I can always make it true no matter what.
Yeah.
So you got to realize with me being 220, I had to like, that's what I've always kind of faced, all that stuff being me. So then with the new start, I was like, okay, I've gone through all that stuff and I've learned how to deal with it now, fortunately, like through exercise and meditating, positive thinking, and just doing work and being active, like keeping your purpose. Because if you don't have purpose, like you become dormant. And like, there's a fella called Tony Robbins. He's a very good quote. He says, "Progress is happiness." If like, no one wants to be dormant, no one wants to like not move, because when you're not moving, you're not really feeling nothing. At least if you're even moving a small bit, you're feeling closer and closer to wherever your goal is.
Yeah.
So I took everything. I was thinking to myself, taking everything that I've been through as 220, good, bad, ups, downs, and then using this fuel for the new beginning. Because even with successful people, I don't want to go too off the cuff here, but even with Jordan Peterson has a very good quote. He says, you don't have to look far with successful people to find a line of tragedy. Because I find you can either, when you've been through darkness, you can use it two ways. You can get crawled up, which a lot of people happens, and like there's no shame in people who deal with stuff like that, and like it's very difficult. But you find the people that make out of that use that as fuel to like push. So I feel that's what I'm doing in terms of like the new music and stuff. And also with the new music, I'm leaving, as I said before, everything's out on the table. Like everything that I go through is out on the table.
Now I like that you said that as well, because I know when you changed the name initially, we were kind of like, geez, how come Martin changed the name? Like, and I know because you deleted all your stuff on Instagram and that as well. We're like, geez, I wonder what's going on here. But it's good that actually one of the reasons that I wanted you to come on was to actually explain that as well. And I'm glad that it's not just a thing of, sure, fuck it, I just wanted to change with the crap. And I like that you have meaning behind it. But let's go back in the timeline now. Go back to the very, very start. So you said you were writing poetry that when you were younger. And it's even something, I know it's different, but it's very similar as well. Like even doing this, you know, you're kind of like, I'd love to release my own music. I'd love to have my own podcast, but what do people think? Like, what did that hold you back?
Oh, it was funny because I like, even when you started this podcast, I was very excited for it, and I was like, it's great, because even I feel like with TikTok, I think first of all with TikTok being introduced, and this is like, I think it's a very important part, that there's no longer a stigma. It's like TikTok has come along and helped release a stigma. Because if you're doing dances now on your TikTok, no one's like, everyone's like, oh, you're doing dances on your TikTok. They're like, that didn't happen like even a couple of years ago. So first of all, I think TikTok really helps that, and I was super excited when you started your podcast. But when I started doing music, and it still happens, it was like no one wanted, like, you got to remember, I come from a farm. Like a farm, like in the middle of nowhere. I always put in perspective, like in the middle of nowhere, like the nearest town was about like 10-15 minute drive, and that's a town, small town. But so I would have been 12 or 13 when I started, and it was like only for I loved what I do. You'll find if you really love what you do, then like an external won't affect your internal. Because McGregor always says that McGregor's a funny character, but he always says that you can't allow external to affect your internal. So you can't allow opinions, because at the end of the day, that's all it is. That's like people pushing their opinions. It's not yours. They're pushing their on yours for whatever reason. Their lies isn't what they wanted to be, or maybe it is, but again, you can't let that affect you. So at the beginning, it was horrible. Like, it was really, really bad. But only for I really loved what I did. Like, I remember we released this like a freestyle, and my voice was like freestyle, and it was really squeaky. And we put it on YouTube, and it was funny because it was doing numbers. This is when YouTube was really, the algorithm would help you like get numbers super quick. So it got like 1,000 views overnight, and we were gassed. We're like, oh, we're gonna blow up. Went into school, and I was slated, like absolutely slated. But the thing was, even though everyone was slating me, it did make me feel a little bit bad. Everyone used to rip the piss and stuff. But underneath the layer, if I didn't love what I did, it would have affected me. But the fact that I really love what I did, you got to remember, if you love what you do and you have like, if you have a vision. I remember a lad asked me, oh, what do you want to do? There was like a group of them, and he's a sounding lad now. I'll tell you who it is after. But he's sounding now, and he's a fan of music and stuff. But he was like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Because even though I haven't achieved what I wanted, like fully what I achieved yet, I always, when I was like a kid, I always wanted to play for Chelsea, or I always wanted da-da-da-da. I was never, this is life, this has to be life, because it doesn't have to be. Whatever you're given is just your starting point. Right? Like, people forget that you don't have to like stay here, and that can be your location or your friend group or wherever you're at. Like, there's more. You just have to open your eyes to like everything. It doesn't mean you're gonna become a fucking billionaire, but there's more in life than what is presented like when you first start. But yeah, where was I going with that? Yeah. He asked me, oh, what do you want to be? And I was like, either a footballer, a rapper, or snooker player. And they all laughed. Like, there's like 10 of them. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, they're laughing because I think it's funny, but like, this is what I think. Like, I kind of believe that I'm going, like, this is going to happen. But and as I was saying, I'm not delusional. I know I haven't achieved what I set out to yet, but it's always been, there's always more to reach for.
Yeah, because it is so far, like your journey so far. You look back on, as you said, the freestyle on YouTube, and like Adolescent and LAT.
Hey.
Like sure, I remember. And then, but I was there the night you played Banada.
Oh,
going back all the way in.
Great story.
Yeah.
So, for perspective, I played like a local disco. Appreciate doing the research too.
Doing the research, I was there. I remember you were on one week, and what was the band's name? The lads from Swinford, Everyday Solutions.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They played the week
I think their experience was a little bit better. It was actually, I kind of forget about that night a few times, or next time I know again. But per perspective, it was like a local disco for those who don't know what band it is. And I turned up. I was unprepared. And the sound system wasn't up to standard. I was unprepared, and it just wasn't a good mixture. So I was late for my sound check. So put in perspective, long story short, I get up on stage, I get absolutely torn apart, like booed, like it was very bad. You were there, like, and I came off, and like I was thinking, I was like, oh, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, why? Because people were like, they were pulling at my legs, they were trying to like jock me, they were trying to like, and they're like, they're saying you're shit, and that was the first time really that like I allowed everything to like come in and crumble what was inside. And I'll tell you something really, really sensitive. So they give me like €40 for playing there, and I sat there in the seats and €40, and I was thinking, like, in the disco was happening after, I was thinking, oh, that was horrible. I went home. Now this is I haven't told many people this. I turned off the light, and dude, I cried for about 2 hours. I literally cried my eyes out. I was like, why am I doing this? Like, what the fuck? Am I just like stupid like for doing this? Like, why? I'm from Sligo. I want to be a rapper. This is so stupid. And I was thinking to myself, and I kind of looked in the mirror. My eyes were all red and stuff. And I was thinking to myself, right. I was like, I can either stop now and quit, and like, either a couple of years from now, I wonder, oh, you're just a quitter. Or I was like, I'll go back at it, and I just got to go harder. So then I said, no, fuck it. I still love what I do. So that night, I went to bed at like 1:30, and then I set my alarm for 6 o'clock in the morning, and I got up, and I was like, put on 50 Cent, and I went down to the table, and I just started writing raps, and then that was like the kind of level up of like, okay, no, I am meant to do this, because like sometimes you need something pretty heavy to shock you and make you realize, okay, it's either you want to do it or you don't want to do it.
Yeah, you're at like a crossroads. I can just turn back, or I just keep going, and you are keeping going, and looking at you now, even on social media, you are like. And even talking to you now, you are a very positive and happy person, and you come across that way to people on social media too. Are you enjoying life at the moment? Yeah, and I'll tell you why I'm enjoying life. For so long, when I was like younger, I was under this impression that if you just think positive, that like life is going to be good. I thought like when I was 17, I was like, I have this world figured out, and then stuff happens, and you realize you don't have the world figured out, and you realize that you can't be happy every day. And it's a process. It's not a thing of, oh, you're happy for a week and then you're. It's a process of getting up in the morning and believing and putting up the work in to make it a good day. Because I wake up every morning and I go for a jog. And say if I wake up, depending, my sleep schedule is varied, but say if I get up at like 8 o'clock for my jog and it's raining outside, one voice is going, yes, let's go out there now in the rain, because I do love a jog in the rain because it makes you feel alive. And the other voice is going, man, what are you doing? Go back to bed. And it's the negotiation. It's like you know when you have to make a decision, and you know you should do it, but you have the negotiation in your head. Yeah.
Once you cut out the
devil on
negotiation,
your shoulder and all that sort of stuff. Like, yeah.
what I learned about things is instead of negotiating with myself, should I say, is to like, right, is this a good decision? Yes, it is. Right, go do it now. No, because once you start going like that, you're back and forth. Sorry for those listening. Once you go left, right, you're just pushing back against each other. You're allowing all that doubt. Am I happy all the time? Am I fuck? Like last Friday, I felt like shit. I felt really, really terrible. But what I did the next day, I gave myself the best chance of having a good day, and it continues.
Absolutely.
You're always going to have problems. The thing with problems is that people think that one day you wake up and you won't have any problems.
Yeah.
The problems just get easier to deal with the stronger you like kind of condition yourself.
Yeah, and I even heard someone say, I think it was on the Two Johnnies.
I love the Two Johnnies, man.
The Two Johnnies podcast, brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, Two Johnnies really
serious. And I said, like, I'd love to. I think it was Johnny B was like, I'd love to live in a world where there's no problems. And then Johnny Smack said that. Johnny B goes, so if you have no problems, that's a problem in itself.
Yeah.
You got nothing to drive you, like, you know.
Yeah, that's so true.
But even so, I know you're up in Dublin and like, you know, you're around the country and that. And how's work like? You know, do you find it difficult to balance work and having to write and then having to record and ideas?
It depends, because I worked so many jobs. Like, I've worked fucking supermarket, sold shoes, incredibly good at selling shoes.
Yeah.
I can talk shit when it comes to selling. The amount of shoes I used to sell, right? And I'd never even wore the pair of shoes, and I was convincing whoever it was, like, so I like to think that rubs off in the music, being able to sell the music. But I was working last year in a lifestyle. I had lovely people at lifestyle. I remember there was going a time where them jobs where you have to work are okay. There's nothing wrong with working, even working in McDonald's so you can get money go to. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you let a job consume you and take away from what you want to do outside your job, that's when it gets really bad. Because I had a great time. Shout out lifestyle. I got a lot of time for lifestyle. And when I was working there, like, work with beautiful people too, very nice people. But what was happening was I was letting this job consume my life. So I was going to work, I go home, I go sleep, maybe watch Netflix, and then do a little bit of music, and then I was letting this consume. And that wasn't the job's fault. That was solely me. Again, there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's, being a builder, These are all, there's nothing wrong with them, as long as if you want to do something outside of this, then you go and work your like ass off outside of this.
Yeah.
Like, so there was times then where I started realizing that, and like, instead of like going home, I was like, oh, I'm gonna rest and watch Netflix. I deserve it. Saying, wait, what do I deserve? Like, I deserve to be working my fucking ass off for another 10 hours when I get home. Yeah. So again, there's nothing wrong with them at all, and I'll never knock all them jobs because I still have to do it. It's just as long as you don't let it consume you. Yeah. Because once you let one of them jobs consume you, again, you're just laying dormant. You're not making progress. Yeah.
So for now, we'll look at and we'll continue talking about your jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me a story before we started recording.
Yeah.
You became a superhero in a certain job that you were working.
Right. So, this happened, I think it's like, just over 2 years ago now. So I was living in Dublin and I was working in a pub. And the pub should not be named for obvious reasons. But I was working in this pub, and they were really nice people, like, they were sound people, like, and I was just collecting glasses, and I started working collecting glasses, and then, so I'd work, it was when I was in college, I'd work till like maybe 2 or 3, and then that morning I'd get up at like 7 or, like, it used to be about 7, and walk back into work, which wasn't very good, like, in the, most likely illegal now that I think about it, to be honest, getting 4 hours of sleep and going back into work. But look, it is what it is. So I go in, and me and the manager used to do the stock every Thursday. So all the stock would come in on Thursday morning. And so he'd do it with me every Thursday, and then eventually I was working there long enough that he stopped doing it with me. So I go into work, Thursday morning, as I always do, is like, 7:45. I go into the pub, the manager, or the owner, should I say, and a couple of the employees were still there, and they were drinking from the night before. So I say hello to them, whatever. I go down the steps down into the basement of the of the pub, and then I put up the hatch. So I put up the hatch from the basement, and the hatch goes onto the main street, one of the main streets in Dublin. And down in the basement there was the office. So the night before, a lot of money, I won't say how much, but a lot of money left on the table in the office. And so I'd seen the door shut when I was going there, because the owner was in and out. So I was like, oh, she's just doing whatever with the money. So cool. So anyways, I'm putting all the empty kegs out of the hatch onto the main street. And I get up, and all the kegs are around the hatch so nobody can fall in. That's what I always do. And then I was like, oh, I have to get some more kegs from the shed beside the pub. So it's literally only 10 steps around. Put in the code for the shed beside the pub, should I say. Go to the empty kegs, and I was like, oh, I have to get something down the basement. So I put the empty kegs again outside the pub, and I jump down the pub hatch, and I see the door slam of the office, which is in the basement. I'm like, ooh, that shut pretty very fast there. It's like, oh, it must be the owner of the pub doing the bank or the books or something. I'll go upstairs just to check. So I go upstairs and I see the owner and all the employees. And I'm like, oh wait, who's that down the office? I go down the stairs. The office door opens. This lad flies out. Now again, when I was telling the story around the first time, I'm no superhero and I'm no save the day, but adrenaline just kicked in. I'm like, oh shit. So I run after him anyways. I rugby tackle him to the ground. We're fighting. And I'm screaming again. I'm not acting tough. I was shouting. I was scared as fuck. And I was like, please help, help, help. The strangers walking past, looking down the hatch, just staring at me. And my faith in humanity at that point wasn't too strong because none of these people were trying to help me. For context, I wasn't wearing the shirt or anything too. I was just in plain clothes. So they might not know who's who. So we're fighting each other anyways. And he's like, I'll stab you, I'll stab you, I'll stab you. And I'm like, oh shit, I don't want to get stabbed over. So he has a bag. I rip the bag off him. I fall back onto the ground. He jumps out the hatch on the main street. I'm adrenaline pumping. I run up the stairs to the pub behind the bar. I'm like, we're getting robbed. And again, adrenaline pumping. And they're looking at me like I had two heads or something. I run out the pub door, and your man gets off on a bicycle. And I come back in and I was like, we're getting robbed. This starts flicking through my mind now. I can't pay. There was a lot of money on the table from the night before. I can't afford that. What am I going to do? Oh, I'm going to get so much trouble. All these thoughts are just flying. So eventually calm me down and they bring me downstairs and they explain to us what happened. And I was like, right, this happened. I hit the bag. And they're like, what bag? I'm like, the bag over there in the corner. They get the bag. Anyways, the owner goes into the office. The money's on the table. They open the bag that I'd stopped him robbing. How much money was in the bag? There was €20 of coins in the bag. I look in, pale face now at this point. Adrenaline just slowed down. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And he was trying to stab me. Now, looking back, he probably didn't have that. He was just trying to scare me. He did a good job anyways. And so they're like, oh, you're alright. They got me. I actually didn't tell you, but there's a little bit more to the story. So they were like, do you want a drink? And I kind of drink from time to time. I don't really drink too often. And I'm like, no, I'm grand. And they're like, you sure? Do you want a drink? I'm like, can I have a Bailey's, Bailey's coffee? And they're like, you just stopped a robbery and you want a Bailey's coffee? And I was like, yeah, can I have one of them, please? So sound, they give me one of them. And I actually had to go back to work and put another 20 or 30 kegs in that actually got delivered after that. And the manager came in who didn't know about the robbery. Now, take in mind, the robbery just happened. I kind of composed myself, had this Bailey's coffee, went outside, put 20 or 30 kegs, full kegs, down the hatch, had to stack them myself, usually there's two people, did that, whatever. He comes in, there's a few kegs outside, one of the lads are looking after him. The manager comes in, sound lad, a lot of time for me, he was very good to me, but my God. Comes in and he's going ape. He was like, mate, you're fucking bollocks, you're wanker, you're shite, you're no good at your job, why are the kegs there? I look at him and I'm like, man, I just stopped a robbery, fuck off. And I never told him, because in that kind of culture, people are used to saying fuck off, but I never told him fuck off, but this is the first time I ever just fuck off, man, what are you doing to me? And he was like, what robbery? I'm like, and then we filled him in, he's like, are you alright? And then, so that happened anyways. I went home and 3 days later, now as I was saying to you before, I only collected glasses, so I wasn't that high in the pub in terms of respect. So the next 3 days later I come into the pub and I go in, I'm always, I don't really think much of it, and I walk in the door and one of the lads shakes my hand and he goes, fair play to you, Martin, we seen what you did. I'm like, alright, sound man, thanks, yeah. I go behind the bar and another lad's like, fair play to you, Martin, some man. I'm like, sound. Turns out that the manager had shown the CCTV footage of me doing the robbery or whatever the fuck saving the robbery, and everyone had the highest respect for me then. Actually, they started calling me Rambo too. Rambo, how are you doing?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But that's it. You could have easily told me that the 20 grams in that bag as well.
Oh yeah. I'm not.
Maybe you should have.
It makes it better that it was only 20 or it makes for a good story. The mother wasn't too happy with that. Not at all.
But even at work and stuff like that, are you still I know you're saying it's easy to let work overpower you and then overtake your life and everything. But do you enjoy work as well?
I think over the lockdown I got a more chance to like live music than actually do music, because when you're doing something you have to go do it, but when you're living something I feel like you're amongst it 24/7. And I'm doing all I can at the moment to like work on bettering myself and upskilling in terms of, like I was saying, I learned to record myself and do mix and master now, so I can do that for other artists and like develop more income quickly, and especially with gigs coming back, just getting gigs and starting to make this, because it's a business at the end of the day, and people forget if you look at whatever you do as a business, and business doesn't make money a lot of the time till a long time into the business. Like, and I also think of there's a good quote: 96% of businesses don't make it through 10 years, so only 4% make it. So when you understand that this is a business and start carrying yourself like it is a business, and not in terms of like throwing loads of money in, but in terms of like just being smart. Okay, I have to put this amount of money in here to open this store or do that, or I have to do this, and things get a lot easier. Because when you're just on the outside looking at it as this big dream, it's like, oh shit, I want to do it, but how do I do it? When you start breaking it down, there's a method to everything you do. But yeah, I'm trying to get more consumed and just live music now. So
you're saying gigging with the help of God. I know there's a lot of comedians and artists and everything.
I've seen that
begging for gigs to come back. Gig stories. Have you any gigs that stand out for?
Let's see.
Maybe there's something funny that happened, or just the best gig that you've ever done. Like
the best gig. Let's see. 2 funny gigs. Okay. Funny one for opposite reasons. One of the first gigs I did, proper gigs, was like a good few years ago now, and I was opening up for a rapper called Sage Francis, and I was down in a place called the Fifth and Teelan in Sligo, and we were like, Sage Francis is a big rapper, but turns out he's actually not that big in Sligo, so we were thinking, we're going to open up for him now, it's going to be 300 people, like, going to get tons of fans, and like get girls after, what the fuck, we're going to get like a writer. So we got a writer anyways, and I think we had like water, prawn, cocktail, crisps, and we just might have turned 18. We asked for honey Captain Morgan. We said, nah man, you're not getting because we were kind of chancing around. So we were getting ready for the gig, and we were pure excited. And we're like, oh, imagine man, there's going to be like maybe people outside waiting and everything. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Got to the gig, and there was 2 people in the crowd. There was 2 people in the crowd because I was the first opener act. There was me, a rapper called Infidelics, and then Sage Francis, and I was the first one on the slot. So literally, and then it was funny because you've heard of this. I'm sure people have heard of this. But we got the camera angle for the pictures after, where it looked like it was side pictures, but you couldn't see the crowd. So it looked like, and we put this big post on Facebook, because like a lot of things with music you'll find, and a lot of things with the world is nowadays, it's like, I try to like show more reality, but like when I was a kid, it was like, I always try to make that look like it was more flashy than it is. As I now, as I've grown up, I was like, it's not about making it flashy, like people respect progress. But so yeah, it was 2 people in the crowd. It might have been 3 or 4 at the end, but did the whole performance, gave it my all, and your man actually heard, Sage Francis, the main rapper, heard me, came down, and it's like, oh, good job, man. Like you have to do this, like, to realize that this isn't just something that's going to happen. You have to appreciate when there's 2 people in the crowd and perform like this. Because like I was performing, I didn't really care there's 2 people in the crowd. Like I was a bit disappointed, but like as long as I was kind of given a chance to like perform, I was like, fuck.
Where was that? It
was Fifth on Teelan.
Oh, right.
I don't know if it's called Fifth on Teelan now. It might have been changed. But that meant a lot to him, like telling us, like, just keep doing it. Just figure out how to keep upskilling and just upgrade and keep doing it. So that was a funny one in terms of no one in the crowd. Let's see. In terms of best, it was probably recent. I did Whelan's there last year. It was like, it's a long time ago. Whelan's upstairs. It was Finn Upbeat's gig, should I say, and I was doing one of the slots for that, and it was fucking incredible, because it's when you can make music in the studio, right, and there's no one there, it's just you and a few people, or just you and yourself, and you're in this world, but you're in your own world, and nothing can like do anything or affect that world, but you have to bring that world and bring everyone else into that world when you're performing. Absolutely. So you got to realize that there might be someone in the crowd that doesn't know you, and there might be someone in the crowd that doesn't like you, and your job is to bring them into your world. Like for that 30 minutes, because whenever I go to gigs, I always kind of study and try what makes me enjoy this, and it's when I'm stepping into that world for that 30 minutes. I don't think about what I got to do tomorrow, what happened 1 or 2 years ago that I should have made a mistake, should have done that, what's going to happen tomorrow. You're just brought into this world and you completely forget and you just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So that was an incredible gig solely for just because it went so well and I was so confident and I kind of found my pocket and stuff. But yeah, that was it.
And what's the plans then for gigging next year? Is there anything that you're looking in terms of somewhere that you want to play next year? Or
all going well, the festivals. We're working on finishing that up, getting all that sorted, all going well. Festivals now, I can't guarantee that. I don't know if I can read it. No, first in Tyler. But hopefully, a headline gig in June. And then that's all for now. And we'll go from there because I'm kind of working towards having something in June. Because at that point, what I'm doing for the 12 months, they'll be releasing a single a month. So at that point, there'll be 6 singles out. So I already have a small fan base in Dublin. And people that kind of asked would ever do gigs. So I'll be kind of working towards that in June. And some of the festivals too. That'll be on the horizon.
Good stuff. Writing songs, something that always baffles me.
Baffles me too, man. I forget I do it sometimes.
You said there was the one there, Hello Special, writing about a breakup and stuff like that. But what about the rest of them? Are they all? Is there any of them that does every song tell a story from your life, or are some of them just something you think, geez, these words just go together?
So my favorite one, it depends what mood I'm in really, because a lot of the time I just want to put words together, because that's where since I started writing poetry, when I started writing poetry, it was just words. I find words fascinating. Words go through my head 24/7. If I hear a word complexed, I'm thinking, oh, that's it. I don't care if it's a big word, but if it sounds nice in my head just starts doing this. And what's funny is that would probably drive someone if you're not into words, that would drive you crazy. Just thinking of. So it's funny because I could be having a conversation with someone and they'll say a word, and I'll pick that word and we'll be still talking, and I'll be trying to rhyme that word and make a rap into it while we're still talking and trying to jot it down in my memory.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's literally just bending words and how can I make this rhyme with that, and then the ones that always feel the best are the ones where you talk about something.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, I don't feel that it's all music is, and writing is awareness. Writing is just awareness. The same with comedy. I feel comedy and artists are a comedian is an artist in their own way, because what a comedian does is they say something and you're like, oh man, that always happens to me. How didn't I think of that?
Yeah.
What a rapper and a great artist does, they say something and you're like, oh, you relate because wait, that's what happens to me. You relate to it. In one way, it's funny. In music, it can be funny, but you can usually hit home or think of a good time, because you relate. So it's just being aware of things. And a lot of the times you hear great artists that go, I was going through this and I wrote that. A lot of the time for me, and I used to feel maybe I'm not one of these artists, a great artist. And then Capaldi said it. Capaldi said he, after a couple of months after he's been through something, he can able to look back on it then not blurred glasses, rose tinted glasses, and see it for what it is, and then be able to write about it. So I'm the same. If something happens to me, it'll be I wrote a song there last night, and it was about something that happened 4 years ago. So it's just going back, because with time you see it for what it is, not for what you're feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
So I feel that's how it kind of.
So do you see your songs as poems, and then just putting your music to them?
Do I see my songs as poems? Yeah, originally, that's because that's where it stems from. It all stems from poetry. Because that's where I began. It all stems from poetry. A bit of WB Yeats, but everything stems from poetry.
Yeah.
Without the music too, I write raps. Something interesting. I write raps with no music a lot of the time. It's always raps and stuff. But when it comes to stories, real story, heartfelt stories, it's always the music. The music just, because words will make me think of something cool to do with a word, but how to bend a word. But when I hear a piece of music, that'll tell a story. Because once you hear be a sad song, I wrote it won't be probably coming out till later next year. It's called Down by the River. And it's about a lad who passed away from drugs and stuff. And once I heard the guitar, and it was literally just after he passed, the guitar, music speaks. Music has no words, but it speaks just music. So I'm oh, that's it just. And when the pen, when words just write themselves, that's what I call the funnel. When you just there's no one You know when you're in the real stride. You know when you're in a game, right? I'll put this actually football terms. You know when you're in a game and you're not actually thinking. It's almost natural. It's second nature. The ball's going there. You're not like overthinking your head. You're just going doing because you're in the moment. You're flowing. It's the same with music. When you stop thinking and just let it flow, that's when like the best stuff happens. That's what I think. So the best footballers are second nature.
Yeah,
they're not thinking about it. It's just second nature to them.
Yeah, just when you were saying we were talking about the lyrics not there. I think we could do something maybe again. You know, like I'm not sure which channel does it, but they do where they sit down.
Rap Genius.
Is it where they sit down with like an artist and they'll go through the lyrics and they'll say what does this line mean?
Shout out Rob Merkman too. He's pretty cool. The lad he does it. Yeah, Rap Genius. Yeah.
Maybe we do something. Like
definitely. That'd be well done.
Yeah, it could be a bit of crack as well. That's an excuse for you to come back down here.
I'm always excited to see it.
So I'll have like, so I'd love to do the podcast with you and we'll talk about the future and stuff like that. But just looking again on the journey so far, like looking back from you're now 22?
23.
23? And you said you started like 12, 13, so you're 10 years.
10 years.
10 years in the go now. Looking back at the 10 years, can you sum it up in any way?
Progression. Because if I said to myself when I was 13, man, you're not going to figure it out, and I still haven't totally figured it out, but you're not going to begin properly figuring out till you're 23, I would have went like, sound, right, where's Chelsea, where's I probably would have become like a sport coach or something, or I don't know, like it would have been football driven or something. I would have been like, forget that, like, but I had to live life in order to like figure stuff out. Like I used to always think when I was 18, I wanted to blow up when I was 18. I wasn't like, I was a stupid, like, I don't want to say what I was when I was 18, but I just wasn't clocked into what the world was when I was 18. Like, I was very immature. But just progression, just positive progression. And that's all it is. That's what kind of, for me, like, that's what life is. Like, I want to get to them, I want to have all of this, like, be it like sold out shows, mad streams, like helping like people with music. But it begins a positive progression with me. Like, I have to be the one moving in order to, because things don't happen like that. It's not, you're not going to wake up and boom, there it is. You just have to keep working and believe that will happen. Yeah.
What age do you think you realise that? Because I know, as you said, at 12 and 13, and you'd be thinking, sure, I'd be fucking 16. I could be over at Chelsea at 16. I could be a rapper at 17. I could be in the charts and everything. What age do you think you realise that you're like, no, this is the progress, and I've got to stick at this for a long time?
What age did I realise that?
Or was it something over time that you realised?
It was kind of more over time, to be quite honest with you. I'd say it was actually not too long after that robbery, because when I went home I spent a little time at home, and I've actually shied away from the story, but I'll tell it. So I went to college in Dublin, and then I came home, and so when lockdown happened, here's like not knowing, this is kind of, in times I looked, did I waste that time? But then I kind of realised I didn't waste this time. When lockdown happened, I was like, this is no biggie to me, because like I did this before to myself, and it was out of choice, and it was out of like very bad. But I went home, a very bad place. But I went home after I finished college, and I spent about 9 months, and I wasn't really working. I was getting like little bits of jobs here, bits of jobs there, but all I was doing was in my room, and all I was doing was music. I was just writing, trying to figure out stuff. Now, a lot of that time, I was really depressed because I wasn't leaving my room. Like, I never left my room. And people would be asking what I was doing. I'd be like, I'm actually working here. And, like, I'd go back and I would wake up at, like, 1 o'clock. And it was a really dark period. But if I didn't spend that dark period, I wouldn't have, like... Because in that dark period was the time I started really clocking what music was. And how to progress. And how to get out of a slump. Because it was a very dark time. No matter where you are in the world. But when you're in the middle of nowhere... and you don't have a car, and you're in your room, and you're on Snapchat, and you're seeing people living their lives, and you're seeing people your age doing this and getting the car, and you're like, you're feeling shit about yourself. And there's probably someone out there right now that that's probably feeling shit themselves looking on Snapchat or doing all of that, because like your automatic, I don't care who you are, your automatic reaction if you're in a bad state is jealousy, it's envy, it's like, why am I not doing that? You're kicking yourself. But if it wasn't for that time, like when I kind of pushed myself, I was like, nah, fuck that. I just have to do all music and break it down and keep working. That I got out of that slump, thankfully. But that period, I'd say, when I was just locked in a room for like, and when I mean locked in a room, I went, did the odd job, went play football on Wednesdays, 5-a-side, and went over to my friend Dylan's house, and we just, right, what are we going to do? How are we going to get the song there? And from the outside in, as I always say, people like you can imagine like oh, da 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 da. But from here, okay, from my view, I was going through a bad period. But the only thing that was on my mind was music. That was the only thing. I had nothing else I had no like distractions whatsoever. So I guess that period, and that was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Finally, to kind of wrap it up, and I know we've gone through a lot today, and I know, and as I said before, I don't want to condense everything to one podcast, but can you remember a time when you were younger that just flicked a light bulb in your head, switch on a light bulb in your head that made you think, I want to go into music?
Let's see now. What was the point?
I know you said with 50 Cent and that got you into rap and stuff like that.
Trying to think of a direct moment. Let me see.
Yeah, anything that made you like, you know what? I'm just gonna go and give this a go.
It was. Oh, I think the main point. I think it was my first ever gig. I think was the real click moment, because it was actually in school, and it was for TY.
Oh yeah.
And it was my first ever gig, and I did it, and I'd never performed or anything, and like, cause no one kind of knew I got a little bit better at writing my raps, because it was just rapping, like it wasn't really songs. I actually went into the principal, shout out Mr. McAvoy, a lot of respect for Mr. McAvoy. Yeah. I went to the principal, and he said, right, the only way you're going to allow you to raps is you have to show me the raps, and he was real nice about it. So we sat down, went through all the raps on the paper, and he was really impressed, and I was like, so because he used to know any bad words or anything. And I remember did that, and I was like, whoa, it's similar to, as I said, there's a lot of comparisons, it's similar to sport, but this time I wasn't really in love with sport. This time I'm in love with the adrenaline and everything that's happening. I was like, oh shit, I could do this. Yeah. This seems good. Yeah. Wait, I could get paid for this one day. Yeah, damn, I'll do it.
Yeah. Martin, it's been a pleasure.
100%, man. Thank you very much for having me on.
Great having you on, and as I said, this is number 46 overall, day 5 of the whole thing, and we will hopefully, with the help of God, now touch wood, we'll get back to do one again in the future, and thanks 100%. For joining me.
You're very welcome, man. Thank you very much for having me.